So my name is Ryan Molly. I am the founder of Crossmark. Crossmark is a browser extension wallet built on top of the XRP ledger. As I've been building on the XRP ledger for the past few years, I was really looking for an option to be able to switch between networks easily. As you know, we have multiple developer networks that are out there. We have the testnet, the devnet. Now we have the AMM, DevNet, and so on and so forth. And I was really looking for an option to be able to switch between those networks quickly. And so that led me down the path of thinking about what a new wallet would look like, and where it would be most beneficial to build a new wallet. And so I landed upon Crossmark and building a browser-first wallet. And yeah. I wanted to give a huge shout out to Dan Wallace. Dan Wallace is a developer advocate at Ripple, and he's been instrumental in supporting me throughout my development journey. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today, so I just want to give a huge thank you to Dan. So a little bit about me. I am an XRPL native developer. So what that means is that I taught myself how to code using the XRP ledger. So referencing the docs, exploring the docs actually goes quite far if you take your time and actually commit to it. I have 3+ years of hands-on experience building on the XRP ledger. Like I kind of mentioned, I started through the xrpl.org documentation. So I'm not new here. So I've given talks at the previous 2 Apexes, and this is my 3rd year, and I'm glad to be back. And then this last one here is something new, but I've grown passionate for design. So really kind of focusing on user experience and thinking about color choices when you're building a product. That's something that I've been becoming more and more passionate about over the past few months. So now I'll begin the core of my talk. And while I was thinking about a digital wallet, I was thinking, well, what is a digital wallet? So a digital wallet to me is 3 things. Number 1, a digital wallet has to be elegant. And what do I mean by that? I mean, the wallet has to be user-friendly. And really, when I think of elegance, I think about the look and feel of the wallet. When a user is using the wallet, how do they feel about the product? And do they leave wanting to come back? A digital wallet is secure, right? Wallets have to be secure. We have to build trust amongst our users, and security is something that we cannot skimp on. And third, a digital wallet is interactive. So what can the wallet do? What platforms support the wallet? And how customizable is the wallet, right? So with these 3 buckets, that is what has brought me to Crossmark. We'll first start with elegance. So here's the home screen for Crossmark. As you can tell, it's a browser extension wallet with a pop-up window. So we're in a pop-up window here. Up in the header, you'll see an icon for your profile, a profile indicator. You also have a network button display that allows you to switch what network you're on, as well as a hamburger icon for a drop-down menu. We have a balance indicator, wallet controls, special mint skins or card skins that you can actually customize your look and feel when you're using the wallet selector tokens, and a nav bar. The next tab is transactions. So this is quite important, right? When you have a wallet, you want to be able to see when you made a payment, who you made a payment to, and how much was that payment of or worth. And so in Crossmark, payments or transactions are grouped by date, which is quite nice. And then you will be able to filter by wallet. The next tab is kind of like the WeChat approach. Build an app of apps, so to speak. So on this 3rd tab, you'll see a bunch of different XRPL-supported dApps or applications. And from Crossmark, you'll be able to click on these, and a new window will open up. So it really much kind of serves as like a bookmark replacement for your desktop. I would go out on a limb and assume that everybody has all of like the XRP Ledger projects in some sort of bookmark folder or something like that. And the hope is to replace that with something like this. And even cooler, you can actually filter these applications. So if you want to maybe just filter this list down to just explorers, like BitHomp or XRP Scan, you can do that. You can filter by exchange or tool or statistic and what have you. And then the final thing I wanted to show with design is this Rolodex screen. So this is basically displaying all the cards that you have added into Crossmark. And it basically just provides you a nice visual representation of all the wallets that you have and the ability to select each one and jump into them. So a digital wallet is elegant, and a lot of that comes from your color choices. What sort of grays are you selecting? Are the grays going to be visible on different screens and with different contrast? I also spent a lot of time thinking about the bold colors, and when I initially started, I selected a more mild color palette. I think I was going for a more modern look, but after some time, I decided to go with like a more bold color palette, and I think that comes through quite well. So if this works, okay, it does work. So I have spent a lot of time on animations in the platform. So when you're clicking around, you'll notice things are sliding in from the left and right, top and down, and I think these animations are really important in creating a strong user experience. A lot of developers, they don't want to work on animations because it takes some effort to actually build these into your platform, but I think the animations do quite a bit in improving the user experience. So I've also partnered with a bunch of different artists that are currently building on the XRP Ledger. Here's just a handful, a few of the artists that I'm working with, and I really just wanted to give a huge shout out to these artists because they've been very supportive of Crossmark even in the early days. And so if you're not familiar with them, feel free to explore their art collections on XRP Ledger. Okay, so data caching and token metadata. So this is another thing that makes a wallet nice to use. When you have a balance of Bitcoin or let's say casino coin in your wallet, you want to be able to see what that token looks like, and you want to have that visual graphic associated with the token. So I'm using XRPL Meta for all of my token metadata, and I wanted to give them a huge shout out as well because without them, we wouldn't have such a colorful home screen. Data fetching has been optimized, and this is super important because when you're using public nodes, you want to make sure that you're actually caching your data and not overloading the servers, and so we have that baked in. And also, when it comes to switching networks, you want to be able to cache that data so that if you switch back to a network, that data is already there. It doesn't need to be refetched. Okay, so the next bucket. So a digital wallet is secure, right? So one of the unique things about a browser extension wallet is that there's really no need for a server. All of the communication that happens between a dApp and the wallet happens on your computer. So it's basically a single lane of communication, and there's no communication that takes place off your laptop. The only communication that does take place is the wallet talking to the XRP Ledger node. But beyond that, everything's on your computer. So there's no personal data is collected. There's no need for a server to protect. Like I said, there's local communication happening on your computer, and everything's locally encrypted. So encryption, how are we protecting the private keys, right? So there's three basically different lines of encryption that's happening within the wallet. So the first is encryption around the storage. So everything that's stored on your computer is being encrypted using AES, which stands for American Encryption Standard. And then moving a step further, we have your passcode. So the passcode is what you'll use to log into the wallet. And so this is a 6-digit code that you'll put in, and these passcodes are hashed and then saved in your database. What's kind of cool about Crossmark is you as the user can choose which hashing mechanism you want to use. So we have SHA-512, which is pretty popular, just taking it a step further on top of SHA-256. But then we also have the PBKDF2, which I believe stands for password-based key derivation function, maybe. But that's there, and that offers kind of a unique property in the sense that you could feed it a iteration count. So what that means is that the function will actually iterate over a handful number of times and keep rehashing your passcode. And this prevents hackers from brute force attacking your wallet. And then once your passcode is hashed, then we kind of use that passcode to encrypt your keychain, right? And so every wallet that's added to the platform is encrypted, again, with your choice of which encryption mechanism you like to use. These are not hashing functions, these are encryption mechanisms. And so you have AES CBC, and you also have AES GCM. And the code base is architected to be extensible in the sense that more encryption mechanisms can be added. So there's room for variance in the encryption mechanism, and this kind of adds to the security of the wallet. So another thing about security is who has reviewed the code, right? It's pretty easy to just write some code and throw it out into the ether, but you really want to spend some time and find someone to audit the code just to make sure that you're not missing any big buckets. And so we've partnered with CertIC to do an audit for us. We signed the partnership agreement, and the audit started last week. And we've already received comments back, and we should have those comments resolved, in a few weeks after this conference. And once those results come in, we'll share those results with the community and let you know that we've gone through an audit with CertIC. Bounty programs. So I do plan to open source the code. Right now, all of the code is kind of closed right now, but with the bounty program, it probably does make sense to open source the code base and to provide it to the community. And then different ways to fund the bounty program, I'm thinking things like crowdfunding or something similar. And I'd very much like to see some sort of hackathon that revolves around maybe some sort of bounty or finding bugs in software that's being built on the XRP ledger. It doesn't have to be specifically here for Crossmark, but just a hackathon that's like, okay, here's all of the different code bases that are out there, and if you can help us find bugs that can improve the ecosystem as a whole. So a digital wallet is interactive, right? What can you do with a wallet? It has to actually function, and you have to be able to do things with it, right? So one of the key mark features of Crossmark is this ability to customize the look and feel of your wallet. So you'll notice that on the home screen we have like a card representation of your wallet, and you can go and you can actually look through your available skins that you've purchased, and you can actually apply those to your wallet. And so here I'm showing Extrams, which is an example of maybe what you would apply, and then there's your Rolodex view. But this kind of allows for users to really customize their experience. They can go to an NFT marketplace, buy an NFT, bring that NFT into Crossmark, and actually display it kind of similar to like a credit card, something like that. So we have a ton of features in Crossmark, and I know this slide has a lot of text on it, but I just wanted to kind of show this to you guys that Crossmark can do quite a bit, and we're calculating wallet and token reserves, so that should be pretty custom standard for any wallet that's building on XRP Ledger. We took the approach of many wallets, many users. So if you've ever used something like MetaMask, you'll notice that MetaMask only lets you select kind of one wallet at a time, and when that wallet is selected, that's your active wallet. Whereas with Crossmark, it doesn't really work like that. You can have, when you're logged into a user, the user has multiple cards that have been added. So it's very much like a a many of many architecture. We also have support for XLS32D, which is a QR code standard that I wrote. It is up on the XRP-LF GitHub page when it comes to standard proposals. I'm a little bit biased, so I'm the first wallet to support my own proposal, which is kind of funny, but if you're not familiar with XLS32D, I definitely recommend you checking it out, and hopefully with myself supporting it, it encourages others to support it as well. Sidechain and EVM compatible. I know on the description of this talk, I wanted to really kind of focus on the side chains and how it's EVM compatible, and we are EVM compatible. We're also compatible with the AMM network. So I'm not sure if you guys have read up on that, but this kind of whole notion of liquidity pools and liquidity pool tokens, we have support, developer mode, and auto lock, and the list goes on and on. The one I'm really excited for is this pop-up mode. So when you install Crossmark, as it's a browser extension, you'll be able to turn on or turn off this pop-up mode. And really what that means is that whenever you click that little icon in your browser, if pop-up mode is enabled, a pop-up will open. If it's not enabled, then kind of that sticky drop-down will appear. So it kind of gives you some choice in terms of what you wanna do. So hot swapping between networks, I think I've kind of covered this already, but you can basically go from the Ripple nodes to the XRPLF nodes. I have my own nodes in here that are denominated as XMark, so you can switch to those. We have the AMM node, right? So you can easily switch between these different networks and view your wallet balance. And then I also have the ability to add a custom network, right? So if a developer gives you an RPC or they give you a WebSocket, you'll be able to add that into Crossmark and use it from day one, which is super critical for the ecosystem. Profiles and users, so I think I have an animation for this one as well. Yeah, so you'll be able to switch between these profiles, and the profiles have different themes set, and everything's being stored locally. So all of your preferences and wallets are saved per user, which is kind of unique and cool. Each user has different passcodes, and then you can set different auto lock, expiry times for each user. And then theme support, right? We have support for a light theme, a dark theme, sun and moon, right? And you as the user can choose which sort of theme you wanna make your daily driver. Okay, and interactions. So like which applications are supporting Crossmark and which ones have expressed interest in supporting Crossmark are here listed. But really much this is a call to action. If you're a developer building on XRP Ledger, we'd love to have you, and feel free to reach out to me, and we can get you up and running in like maybe 30 minutes. It's really that easy to integrate with Crossmark. So. Okay, so with that said, let's move over to the docs real quick. I actually don't think I have this prepared actually, so let's just type this in. So my docs are located at docs.crossmark.io. So you can come to this page and learn more about Crossmark and how to actually integrate the wallet. So I'll kind of just take you guys through like the quick start, right? Like how to get started. So first, what you'll need to do is you'll need to install the Crossmark SDK. You can install it using a package manager. NPM is pretty popular, but I particularly like to use Yarn. Some people like to use NPM, right? So all of those options are there for you. I'll just switch over to Yarn because I like Yarn. So then once you have the Crossmark SDK installed, you'll just import it into your script. And then the first thing you'll want to do is you want to do sdk.signin and await. So this is a promise-enabled function, and your code will just wait for the user to respond. And if the response is successful, then you'll be able to read their address that they signed in with by logging the response.data.address. I also pass back the network. So what network is the user on? So that will be attached to the response.data.address key. So you can also have access to that. And then once you have the wallet address, then you can actually proceed to like issuing a payload, right? And so you can do that by calling the SDK again, and then sign and submit and await. So this is a promised enabled function again, and you'll just feed it your standard transaction JSON that can be discovered on the xrpl.org website, right? All of your different transaction types. You feed it the proper parameters, pass it to Crossmark, and then we'll go ahead and sign and submit that payment for you. And then on success, you'll be able to log the response that you would get from xrpl.js or from the node. So you'll have that response handy. And you'll also have access to the hash, right? So with the hash, then you can confirm that it actually made it onto the ledger and verify the successful payment. So here's all the steps together. So I wanted to briefly cover, we can go through all of the different methods of the SDK, but I think that might be quite boring. Hopefully I'm not boring you already, but I wanted to talk about different installation methods. So I did mention that you can install this using a package manager, but if you wanted to, I know there's some people in the crowd that like to still work in vanilla JavaScript and HTML. So if you are still working in vanilla, you can import our SDK using a CDN. So you can do that using JS Deliver or unpackage, right? And then I have an example here in my docs to show you kind of what that would look like. And then I also wanted to talk about these providers. So whenever a browser extension is installed on your computer, Crossmark will actually inject into the DOM or the web page. We will inject our SDK on load, right? So if you don't want to install the SDK, you can gain access to the SDK by accessing the window.xrpl.crossmark object, and then from here you'll have access to the SDK if that's the route you would like to prefer. And then the other thing too is like, is Crossmark installed or is it not installed, right? And so to determine that, you can log the window.xrpl.isCrossmark, and this should return a Boolean or undefined if it's not there. But this will tell you if it's there or not. And I did kind of take things a step further, and I went a little bit overboard. So in addition to mounting the Crossmark-related functions at the XRPL instance, I also am loading in the xrpl.js package. So if you're a fan of using xrpl.js, you can access that by instantiating the window.xrpl.js. And then another thing is I'm supporting Xdir, which again is another project that I created, and I'm a little bit biased, but I think it's a pretty cool tool that people can use. So my SDK is broken down into two different method types. We have synchronous functions and asynchronous functions. I think the asynchronous functions or the promise-based functions are going to be default because when you request a payment, you're looking for a response, and without the response, you can't really do much else. But I just wanted to highlight that we have support for both. And we do have bulk signing, which is something that's really, really something that's cool and something that not much other wallets don't do in the XRPL ecosystem. So this kind of sets us apart from the crowd. And I'll show you a quick demo if I have time. So we have also a bunch of emitters. So let's take a look at this first one. So if you actually add the dot on and you listen for an event, you can actually pick that up in real time. So this is something that if you're dealing with a wallet, you need to have this, because if a wallet signs in, right, to your application, how do you know when they sign out, right? Or how do you know when they change users or change networks? And so you can actually subscribe to the SDK and listen for a network change event. And when that happens, you can enable some sort of function, right? What else? I have a session manager, so this is kind of similar to the SUM SDK, where you can actually access this session, which stores, the current user, the current network, the current address, and some other relevant information. So you'll have access to that. And yeah, we have a changelog, frequently asked questions, and then if you need support, you can always find us on our Discord. So, okay, now I'll switch over to the demo. I have about 14 minutes, so I think we actually have quite some time. So I created this nice project to help me debug Crossmark, but it's going to be open source and it's going to be available for people to use and test Crossmark as well. And so what you can do is you can try to connect your wallet. And so when you click the Connect Wallet button, Crossmark will open up. And you'll be asked, well, which wallet do you want to sign in with? So I have, 5 wallets here. And I'll go ahead and sign in with this Apex wallet. Hit confirm, put in my super secret passcode. And then once approved, that message will be relayed back to the application, and then we can go ahead and start signing transactions. So the first thing I want to show is our sign method, and so we'll do that here, and so we'll actually construct the payload. So we'll go ahead. I have all of the XRPL payment types in this crosskit. So if you want to test the payment, that sample payment JSON will appear. This is very similar to the example payment that's on xrpl.org, right? Or maybe you don't want to do a payment, maybe you want to do a create offer, or an NFT mint. You can do that. So I'm just going to show a payment for now. And under the account field, it's the address that we logged in with, so you don't have to change that, but we will have to change the destination. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull just a random wallet from Crossmark. Close this, and then under the destination, I'll put that wallet address. And then under the amount, and I'll just delete everything else. And then under the amount, I'll put 1 XRP. And then we'll go ahead and hit sign. Crossmark will open, showing you information related to, that corresponds to this payload. We are on the DevNet, so something important to mention. I'll go ahead and confirm. Okay, and so what this method is going to do is it's just going to sign the transaction. So it's not actually going to submit it to the ledger. And so it'll give you the signed transaction blob, which then you can copy. And now we'll use that transaction blob, and we'll use our submit method. So we copy and paste that signed blob, and then we'll go ahead and hit submit. It's saying, okay, here's the transaction blob, here's the network fee. We'll go ahead and submit it. I'm going to put my passcode in incorrectly and show you, okay. It didn't work, but this is the correct passcode. It should be submitting. Maybe there's some. Maybe. Oh, did I? Oh, whoops. Okay, let's try that Let's try that again. Thanks for catching that, guys. So actually, rather than doing that, let's just copy this, and let's just do a sign and submit. So let's completely skip that sign process, and let's just submit this to the ledger and see if we can get this to work. Okay, now for the destination, let's make sure we get an appropriate destination. Okay, let's send it to this one. Okay, those are different, right? Okay, let's go ahead and submit this thing. No flags, network fee. Put in my passcode. Fingers crossed this time. Hopefully it goes through. Okay, there we go. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And then we can actually view this on the Explorer, right? So we can click View on BitHomp. We can see that this was a successful payment. So there you have it. Now, I did mention something about bulk transactions, right? And so I wanted to show that real quick as well. So let's just do the same thing over again. Let's just make sure that we have the correct destination. So we do the same thing. Let's close this. Select this trader account. Okay, so we will go ahead and we will submit, let's do four payments. So we'll try to do 4 payments all in tandem and submit those to the ledger with 1 click. So on the second payment, we'll do 2 XRP. On the third, we'll do 3. And on the fourth, we'll do 5. Okay, so we'll go ahead and sign and submit this. Crossmark will open and say, hey, this is a bulk payment that we're going to be signing. And you'll notice down here that the submit button is actually, it's disabled. And the reason being is we have to actually go through each of these payments and review them first. So we'll select this first one, we'll review, go back, select the second, 2 XRP, looks good. Third, 3 XRP, and then the fourth is 5 XRP, right? Yeah. Okay, so we'll go ahead and confirm this. Put in our passcode. And so what's actually happening here is I'm going ahead and I'm using your private key to sign each of these transactions. And then once I have all the signed transactions, then I actually submit them to the ledger in grouped batches. And I believe I'm grouping them in batches of 10. And so here you go. It was successful. And here's the 4 transaction hashes if you want to confirm. So with 1 click, we just sent 4 payments, which is super cool. I'm really excited for this feature because think about if you have a bunch of NFTs that you want to mint on the XRP ledger. Let's say you have 1,000 NFTs that you need to mint in a collection. You can easily do this with Crossmark. Or let's say you want to put like a spread on an order book. You can do that with this with 1 click. So another thing, I have a little bit more time, so I'll just kind of show you the logging that's taking place. I was talking about those event emitters, right? And when you open up Crossmark, you'll see an open event take place. When you close it, you'll see a close event take place. When a user in Crossmark switches networks, you'll see that network change come through. So we can switch to the Crossmark test network that got registered. If a user changes their their profile, that will get registered. So you as the dApp have not full control, but you have the information you need to build a full featured product. So I'm going to switch back to my docs, or my PowerPoint here. Okay. Okay, so I have about 5 minutes for questions. Does anyone in the audience have a question? Yeah, you, Adam.
There's a microphone here.
Okay.
I just want to know when the mobile version's coming out.
Soon. It's on the roadmap, but like a lot of things, you want to make sure you don't spread yourself too thin. So we're really kind of starting with a browser extension, a browser-first option, and then once we kind of get all of the bugs and things corrected, then we'll certainly move over to a mobile version. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to include XLS32D, which is, again, one of my proposals, because by adopting XLS32D, it's going to make communication between the extension and a mobile application way easier. So soon, hopefully. Yeah, Dan,
Wait.
Mike. Move faster.
Can you just talk a little bit about the developer mode that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah. So we can, let's open up Crossmark and let's just show you what that looks like. So this is very much similar to Sum, right? When you're using Sum, maybe you don't know, but if you go to Settings and you go to Advanced, we have a developer mode feature, and oddly enough, this screen is actually not color calibrated, so it doesn't look that great, but you can turn this on and off. And when you turn it on, it gives you access to like developer level features. And going back to that bulk signing process that we went through, if you have developer mode enabled, you won't have to actually go through and review each transaction. So I do recognize that having to go through and review each transaction is a bit laborious, but I just want to make sure that people aren't getting defrauded out of their hardly earned XRP. But if you enable developer mode, you can kind of bypass that whole process. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay.
Any other question?
All right. So in your wallet, I've noticed filtering options for transactions. So do you cache some transactions as well? Because as we know, XRP Ledger returns transactions in pages, and you have a marker, need to continue and continue. So if you want to filter, you kind of need to get a lot of data. So that filtering is very interesting to me, as we are kind of having the same display field in development.
Yeah. So I can actually, rather than just answer the question, I can just show you. So in Crossmark, if we go to activities, we can actually filter by activities. And let's go to a network that has more information stored. My Crossmark nodes are actually not full history nodes, so you won't see some of this information. But if you go to a full history node, you'll be able to see all of the transactions that took place. And then the filtering, you can basically just filter by address right now. So if you want to just filter by, a particular wallet, we enable that. But as far as, filtering by transaction type, that's something that we'll work to implement, and I think it's a good question.
By wallet, it's clear.
Yeah, by wallet is clear, and everything's being cached, right? So when I switch back to default, that information is already there. We don't have to refetch it again. But if I switch to a different network, it'll be there, right? So hopefully, yeah.
I have a question regarding the bulk transaction feature.
Yeah.
Is it possible to disable the review that you have to do for each transaction?
Yeah. So if you enable developer mode in the settings, that will allow you to forego that whole review process. But I guess we're all developers in the room, right? So you guys can all turn developer mode on. But I think for your average user, you just want to make sure that you're not letting them sign like 100 different transactions and they're unreviewed, right? You want to make sure that your users review the transactions before they sign them, right? So to answer your question, yes, if you enable developer mode, you can forego that hurdle. Okay, yeah.
I think one last question.
Super quick one. So,
Yeah.
Ryan, let's say that I have, 1,000 transactions that I want to submit. I want to submit the bulk. I made a couple mistakes on some of them. Will it submit all of them? Will it stop at the one that failed? Or will I see a log of the ones that are not going through?
That's a good question. Well, so how it should work is like if there's one transaction that fails in that batch, that transaction the error will be logged and that error will be sent back, but the process shouldn't stop. I don't think users would want I mean, I'll ask you. I mean, if you have an error transaction with like in the middle of your bulk transactions, would you want the rest of them to just stop, or would you like it to continue on? You like it to continue? Okay. Well, yeah. So yeah, the intention will be that it will continue, and then all of the responses will be logged, and if there is an error, then those responses will be in an array, and you can detect that. Okay. So So unfortunately, I don't have enough time, but I have one other. So I can answer your question after. But I wanted to. Oh, oops. Can we go back to my slides real quick? I just have one last thing. Okay, so I created a special NFT for the conference. So real quickly, this NFT, this is a card that can be displayed in Crossmark. If you go to my docs and you go to POAP/Apex, you can get to this NFT and you can claim it using Crossmark. So it's a special Amsterdam theme. And then I also gave out cards. So after the conference, you can remind yourself of this claim, and I definitely encourage you to go to the website and download it. Thank you so much.